Hey, Hal here. I want to talk a little bit about our partnership with Onyx Hunt. I've been using it for a while now, and if anybody knows me, they know I'm not a very techie person, but the Onyx app is it's a real time saver. I remember the days when we poured over topo maps everywhere we was going to go and stuff, and I don't do that quite as much anymore. Where it's really helped me is scouting, whether it's deer scouting, a moose, or even turkey hunting in the spring, which I do. It really helps out. I don't have to spend as much time running around the truck burning up the gas. I'm just basically using my Onyx. Got it on my phone. Don't even carry a GPS anymore. So I just download the areas where I'm going to be hunting, whether it's up north moose hunting, and I use it mostly on the satellite imagery. I like to see the cuts and the clearings and the turkey hunting, the hidden fields and stuff. But everybody's using it now, from the game wardens to land surveyors, and just a great tool. And with our partnership with Onyx, if you use a code BWB, you're going to receive 20% off on your first premium or elite memberships. And you just go to onyxmaps.com/hunt. You'll be glad you did. Good luck on the trail.
This is the Big Woods Bucks Podcast. Come explore the big woods and timber in North America with your host, Maine Master Guide and deer tracking expert Hal Blood. Listen to Hal and co-hosts Lee Libby and Joe Cruzy as they unlock the secrets of big woods whitetails. Each episode will provide valuable insights into the tried and true system Hal has used for the last 40 years to scout, locate, and hunt mature big woods bucks. Listen and laugh as the crew discusses Hal's legendary adventures and learn how to apply a lifetime's worth of lessons from the big woods to your own hunting and outdoor adventures.
Welcome to the Big Woods Bucks Podcast. I'm your host, Hal Blood, down here at Pileland Lodge trying to stay warm. About 15 below already this morning. It's supposed to get colder. I guess this is our cold run for the winter. But sitting here with Joe, the plumber.
Hello.
And Stephen Schanz.
Hello.
Plumber's assistant.
Plumber's assistant. Yeah.
Today.
Yeah. Goodley couldn't make it today. He was supposed to, but he's still got a scratchy throat. He didn't want to be talking too much, which is unlike him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what my mother would say.
Yeah.
Rick had to bail last minute, too. He was going to come up, and
yeah,
he had a job change on him yesterday, so responsibility is a heavy responsibility.
Gotta make hay while the sun shines so you can hunt in the fall.
Yeah.
Oh, he must be cat hunting right now, too, isn't he? That's probably what he's out there doing.
Yeah. No, I know for a fact he's on a job today, but he did cat hunt. They went out to my property there recently. I don't know if they did any good or not. They usually kill one out there.
Been pretty crusty for that, though, ain't it?
Yeah, but it's different in areas down there, whether the rain hit or not, because it didn't necessarily hit everywhere. So,
because I know
I haven't been out there recently, so I don't know.
Oh, Riley told me that when we were coyote hunting yesterday, he told me he'd hunted down the forks the other day, and he said below here it's no good. It's kind of that crust, probably meaning that the dogs are busting through and the coyote ain't. That's bad coyote hunting. But
I know it's all powder up here, man. I got off. I found a pretty nice shed during deer season. I stashed it, and I was going by that area the other day, so I said,
moose shed, you mean?
Yeah. So I rode up in the woods on my sled, and I had it all marked. And I put it in a spot, and I knew it was going to be tough in the winter, if we had any snow to speak of. And I kicked around there for 10 minutes. But the snow it's deep in the woods right now.
Yeah, it's up over your knees a little bit now. I noticed yesterday when we was coyote hunting it. You try to walk around, you ain't getting very far in it.
Good coyote hunting though right now, huh?
Yeah, it is good, but it's if you get on a smaller one, they can tiptoe along. It's firm enough underneath from that light crust we got a couple of weeks ago. There's just enough firmness where a little one can tiptoe along and not sink in more than, like a foot. So and the dogs go right to the bottom. It's
Right,
hard
they're
for the
bailing
dogs.
along after it.
But we killed one yesterday, like right off. It was a bigger one, and it was sinking, and the dogs caught it. I mean, when Matt shot it, it was like 6 feet in front of the dogs. He had to wait for it to gain a little bit before he opened up, and they caught it pretty quick. And then we run another one all day, a small one. Jason saw it once, and it run around like a rabbit. I never seen one do that before, and we ended up, I had to pull the dog and get out of there before dark. We couldn't get it. Just wouldn't never cross one, not even like a snowmobile track, like on the old trails.
Huh.
I mean, it would not go anywhere in the open. It stayed in the cedar bogs and the spruce thickets, and the guys tried walking in 2 or 3 times, and it would go from one place to another. It'd make a bunch of circles, and then it would head off about a mile and get in another thicket, and it would go round and round in there. So we'd all run down there and just trying to get in there and get set up. Next thing you know, it's headed back up where we all came. We did that like 4 times.
Little pup outsmarted you guys, huh?
Yeah. Jason got one whack at it there. He had to just shoot quick, and he didn't hit it. He said it was a pretty one too, real blonde one. But
Yeah.
so we said at the end, we're like, well, the only problem with this is we're going to have to run that thing again, But I think probably we'll have it figure. It's going to do the same thing. So once you learn a particular one, then it's sometimes a little easier to get them. But
Are the deer coming into Jackman pretty steady now?
I was
I haven't been to town
surprised.
lately.
Then there's no like steady runs like the migration trails, but there's some filtering from here and there. Like I had 2 days ago, I went out back to groom my trail, and I'm 5 miles from town, and 2 bucks come out in the trail, and they was slugging it up through a wood yard there, and they got my trail and walked that about a half mile, and they were headed towards town. I don't think those are going to get right into town, but down along Heel Stream where there's some thickets, they were headed that way. And I've seen other tracks in the woods. When we were coyote hunting yesterday, and we were out a ways from town, and you'd see an odd track where like a big lone buck would be slugging its way in that direction,
Yep.
But I still think there's some that's probably end up staying where they're at, because the funny thing is there's hardly any coyotes when you get outside of town. The coyotes now what's left of them, they do follow them deer down into town. So when you get out away from it, there's very few coyotes. And so we got to there's actually, when we went yesterday, I hadn't been down in the deer yard north of town. The conditions in town had been so bad until recently. But there's a few coyotes in there again we got to get. But I noticed it's full of deer like it usually is. I was surprised because I didn't think as many had come down. And I think a lot of it's because there's so many more deer we don't realize it.
Yep.
I'm like, I'm going down one of the trails yesterday morning looking for a track, and the whole trail, Jason had groomed it a couple days before, and it was paved with deer tracks down and then I'd look up, and there'd be 5 or 6 deer in the trail, and I'd stop, and I'd wait, and then they'd kind of get out of the trail. I'd move along, be 4 or 5 more in the trail, and it was like heading a cattle drive going down through there. But it makes it hard finding coyote tracks because there's so many deer. If a coyote was there in the winter, in the night, there's 10 deer on top of them.
Right.
You got to go those places. You got to really hit when you get a fresh snow,
right?
And then the one we killed was like that. I came down, I drove from home down in there and checked some places, and I was coming down towards Jason's house along Sandy Stream, and there was a coyote. It just been, I could see it was just crisp because we had a little.
That's the killing fields down in there, isn't it?
Yeah, we had a dusting in the night, and I looked at that, and I'm like, this thing just went. It had to have, just went. So I met up with them, and we checked around the lake. I said, we better go get on that one because and he was right. They jumped it right up the hill there, about 300 yards, I think. And
I noticed about probably 3 weeks ago that went from no roadkill in the Forks to almost every day now.
Yeah, there was a ton when I drove up this morning, a ton of deer.
Oh, was there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Imagine if there wasn't the river on the other side of the road, how many would get killed, Because that's what keeps them from crossing. There's nothing on the other side of the road.
There were a ton of deer in general, or you saw a bunch of roadkills?
Ton of deer in general. I didn't see any roadkills.
Okay.
I looked for roadkills. I didn't see any roadkills this morning.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, I've been seeing them about almost every day. But, sometimes I'll just see the blood because everyone's picking them up for coyote bait. So.
Yeah. Yep.
I haven't seen any up this way lately. There was a few. There was more, I think, hit during deer season in town.
Yeah.
And then there was one last week. One got hit up by Francis Lessard's, a small one. And a coyote did come to that. The crows and ravens in the, I don't think there was an eagle, but there was a bunch of ravens there. And the next day I stopped to look at it, and the ribs were chewed off. So I knew a coyote had found it too. Still on the snowbank. Little fella, don't take them long to eat them up. But we haven't found any deer in the woods dead from the coyote. I think the deer actually got the advantage now because they, it's down in town. It's not as deep as it is as soon as you get up the hills, but they can hit bottom. And if the coyote's got to jump in that, pretty hard for them coyotes to catch a deer when it's like that, unless they get them on the lake or something like that. But they're still spread out pretty good. The deer. I mean, they're not like all like packed right down into that one corner. So,
right.
Yeah.
I saw that live feed from Brownville popped up the other day. Man, do they get a pile of deer in that yard out there that they got on their webcam. It's pretty cool to watch. They got a bunch of different cameras, and I just happened to click on, and there was a really nice buck with one antler there feeding away his face about a foot from the camera.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Imagine them people pick up some of them antlers.
I think they get a few, yeah.
That's what I would think. There'd be a lot of people in Forks. They must have guys go down and look in the Forks for sheds. There's that many deer. There's got. I would think
I don't even bother anymore down there.
I was gonna say it must be people piling in there. When I was driving by, I was thinking about it. I was like, it's got to be getting checked, I would think.
Not even worth going anymore.
No. Yeah. Gordon says they even sneak right in behind his house,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, well, we've got a couple of housekeeping things here, and then Stephen Schanz has got a sad story he wants to tell you. It's part of his learning curve. Okay. First thing I want to talk about, I think we mentioned it before, is that film festival that Joe Osgood's putting on. And so I told him we'd plug it again, hope to get some of them guys. He's doing another thing he wants to see if people will bring groups of kids over there for it, too, because part of the proceeds are going towards the kids' hunting licenses there and then the deer yard. So it's basically, it ain't a money maker. I mean, it's a money maker for the good causes, So what it is basically is some of the guys that have got YouTube channels around New England that hunt in the big woods are putting together some films to view, and it comes with a dinner and all of that. I guess you can get tickets for without the dinner or with the dinner, and I don't know why it's only $20 less, so you can't buy dinner for $20. So,
McDonald's.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Maybe if you only get one.
Yeah. Well, the way he's going to set it up is he's going to have these big screen TVs all around the room.
Yeah.
And so everybody can sit where they are at their round dinner table and watch the films are ones that haven't been seen on YouTube yet. So, yeah. So the profits are going to be split between a scholarship for Maine Youth Lifetime Hunting Licenses and then the Maine Deer Wintering Area Purchase Program, that fund they got for that. So some of the people going to be there is me and Neil Pendleton. And I don't know who else is going to come from the Big Woods crew, but some of us will be there. And Rodney Elmer's going to be there with the Mountain Deer crew. And then Beyond the Boundaries is going to be there. And Ian McKendry, Isaac Young, and the Stagger crew. And they're going to have some door prizes too, I guess. Got a Savage 300 Win Mag rifle, Kittery Trading Post gift card. So
that's on the 25th.
Yeah, that's going to be February 25th on Saturday. I think it starts at 1. It's at Jeff's Catering over in Brewer. And meal tickets got to be purchased by February 20th so we can get that head count in. So anyways, hope we see you over there. It's going to be a good time. And
Joe's a good fellow. Like to get out and support him, and
I'll
be over there as well.
Him, yeah. So and it's supporting the kids and the deer winter and stuff. So if you're a deer hunter, get yourself a seat over there and We'll be talking deer hunting all afternoon. And so we mentioned that we're going to do a spring thaw again, and we were going to pick a date. It's going to be in April. It's either going to be, the 8th, Joe, or probably going to be the weekend of the 8th, because you think you're going on vacation with your honey on the 25th.
There's something, yeah. I'm not sure what it is on that date. I got to look and check, but there was something on that date we couldn't. It might be we're going to be gone, so.
Yeah, we can't do it. There's the 15th is the guides banquet, so we couldn't do it then. But so by next podcast, we'll have the date firmed up and how to get your tickets. I think this year we're going to do what we was talking about. We'll do a little more seminars and things like that, and focus it all around learning and stuff like that. So, we had a good show in Vermont, huh?
Yep. Stephen, unfortunately, didn't make it.
No, I couldn't make it. Couldn't make it. Had drill.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Duty calls. Yeah, that was a good time.
Yeah. Duty calls, that's right.
It's all good.
Steven's out there training so he can...
Got to put my time in now so I can go to all these shows with you guys later.
That's right. Yeah. I think I told you, but Gary graduated. My son Gary.
Yep.
I'm not graduated,
I think
retired.
last podcast I did with you guys actually was his, we talked about it. Yep.
Yeah, he's wrapped it up, 20 years.
That's awesome.
Good for him.
Yeah, the Vermont show was really good. It was, I think it was pretty well attended. I think he told us on Saturday was the highest ticket sales since 2015.
Yep, good.
Yeah, it was busy. We did good. We had jackets to take over in packs. We sold out of packs. We sold a lot of jackets. And what we're finding is the guys that aren't tall, they love the shorter sleeve jacket because it fits them better. They don't have the sleeves down on their knuckles,
Yeah.
So we're actually putting those. I think Liz and Chris are getting those on the website. But basically, if you're a stockier type build where you need a certain size, but you don't have long arms, these jackets are going to fit you, and they're probably the ones you'd rather have, because once these are gone, they'll all be made with the longer sleeves. The next run, they're getting ready to make another run of them, but we've got some of those green checkered. We made those. We made 100 with the plain green 18 ounce wool that we're going to make the pants out of. So we sold a lot of those green ones, actually. They're actually they're pretty stylish looking. You take your orange cape off and you wear it to dinner or church or anywhere, So those were pretty popular over at the show. We sold a ton of those. So they'll be up on the website to be able to order those with a...
Yeah, it's just nice having them at the shows where everyone can actually see them.
Yeah, they can try them on. But basically, everybody knows if they always struggle with the sleeves being too long, if you take an extra large, but because of your body, but you're 5'6" or something, these are going to be just what you need.
Yeah, it seems like the bigger the jackets, like, we have 3X. The 3X are typically always going to be right, because usually a 3X is a stockier guy, and if he's 3X in proportionate, he's 6'10", and so.
Yeah, I sold one to a guy that I didn't think he'd take a 3X, but he tried the 2X on, and he was probably 5'8" or something like that, but pretty stocky. And he tried the 2X. He said, "Let me try the 3X," and he bought that one. He liked the 3X better, Yeah. So, yeah. But anyway, so that went good. The shows the seminars were all well attended, and it was good to kind of see the people again. Some of the people we hadn't seen for a few years, and we had a nice frat house to camp out in over there. We got a Airbnb there, and makes it nice. We can just go back and relax.
Yeah, Joe and his crew came over. Danito, that was fun.
Yeah, we had Danito over there telling stories, and
they kill some beautiful bucks down there. Steve there.
Steve got that big one this year.
Had a couple over 160.
Yeah, Steve's was right around 160, and then it was actually for over there, down there where they hunt, that southern part of the Adirondacks. So, 160-pound deer is about average, but Steve's was 180 pounds or 181 or something, which is relatively big for over there. They get the bigger one, the heavier ones up in the northern part of the Adirondacks, I guess. But
Well, that was, speaking of scoring, I was telling you guys earlier that my son-in-law Braden, his dad Dennis, got his scored, mastic scored, the one he shot this year. It was grossed 178 and 2/8 and netted 173 and 2/8, which for Maine,
It's a giant.
yeah.
I was really surprised when he sent me that text. When you get above 170 up here, it's
yeah, we
that's a
shot
monster.
that down here in southern Maine, didn't you?
well, central,
Huh?
central.
Central Maine.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
That's what I call
just an hour south of here.
Hey,
Beautiful buck, though. I guess
south of the Forks is southern Maine.
Yeah. Well, Braden told me yesterday that the neighbors had been watching that deer they had him on camera a couple different times, and they actually found a shed from last year.
Yeah.
And they brought it over and gave it to him after
nice.
he killed
Cool.
the deer. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
thought
cool.
that was really nice.
Yeah. No,
But-
there's always going to be them big ones turn up. They get a
Yeah,
few
170s in Maine don't come often.
Yeah, it has
He's
that. We was looking at the picture. It won't make Boone and Crockett because it's got a kind of a drop point on it that's going to take that over 3 inches off, and the difference, but it'll score higher in Maine's club because we have 3 categories. But so yeah, pretty good. So then we got the Augusta show coming up, and that's the last weekend, and it's kind of March and a couple days in April. Is it the 29th? No, the 30th, and I think it's the 29th, 30, and April 1st or something like that. It's right at
Yeah, right at
it's
the
always
end.
that right at the end there. So we'll be down there, and we'll have. Chris tells me we're supposed to have the packs are supposed to be made another batch. We sold all the first run of packs. We're having 500 more built.
Those small ones are popular. Those once
Yeah.
people get their hands on them, I used to never think they'd be big enough. They seem, unless you were just going out for a couple hours, but that's my day pack now.
I've got a big one, but I'm going to get a small one. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody should have 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But it was kind of funny that we didn't know which one would sell better. We just had to kind of guess. So we had the first run. We had,
and it's a gamble because you're buying. That's a lot of material. You gotta
yeah.
get when you do that.
We had 250 of each made for the first run, and it was almost even what they sold.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to do the same thing. We'll make half small ones, half large ones, and then they're working on that first, and then they're actually working on they've got the pattern for the pants made, and what we're going to do with the pants is a lot of people requested a lighter weight. I think we've talked about it. We got an 18-ounce wool, plain green, forest green, and we're going to make pants out of that, and then we had some wool we'd ordered before and hadn't done anything with it, and that's a 24-ounce forest green, so we're going to make pants out of that. So we'll have some heavyweight and lightweight pants. Will be kind of cool. And
Yeah, those are the 2 weights I wear. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
the 18. I like the 18, especially for the moose season. I like to wear wool still in the moose season.
oh yeah,
Going up through the raspberry whips and stuff, moving in on a bull.
yeah,
I don't like doing that in 24-ounce wool.
yeah. Well, even on early season or even the warmer days for deer.
I don't think I took my 18-ounce off until that. I wore it some in the 3rd week, I guess, of November. But I don't think I took those 18-ounce off until that first week of December, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I wore that lighter wool all year pretty much.
I like the heavier in the snow just because it, especially if you get some wet snow in the bushes, it don't wet through quite as quick, you know.
Yep.
But
we didn't really have that wet snow, though, this year. We either had
it was dry this
dry
year.
snow or we didn't have any snow.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's kind of funny that everybody's bodies, I've always knew that people's bodies regulate different. Some people, their legs get real hot and even sweaty wearing them heavier weight wool ones, and mine never do. I mean, I've always worn those even if it was 50 degrees out, and I never, because I got skinny legs,
Right.
But, everybody's different. That's why we're trying to get something for everybody, as we get going along here. So, and then we'll get another run of jackets coming, and we're going to do some more I think more plain green ones with the longer sleeves too, but I can't remember. We had a discussion with the stitcher the other day. We had a Zoom call with them and lined it all out. So some of this, I think they had enough wool to do 170 more jackets, and then if we throw some green in with it, we can probably squeak out close to 300 and get that done right off. And then I don't know if that's before the pants or whatever. I can't keep track of it because we actually had to order more wool. We're finding all this stuff out here that, like, to have wool, if they don't have the particular weight and I guess it's got to be a certain color that you can dye. You know what I mean? Some colors you can dye it to make another color.
Yeah.
I don't know how that works, but and then if they don't have it or they don't have the weight, they have to make it from scratch. Source the fiber and actually weave it, which takes they talk about that's a 4 to 5 month process. But they've always been, the wool company's always been ahead of schedule for that. So
yeah, it's just nice to have product again, wool product at least. I always like our fleece stuff and our ball caps and stuff. And it's been nice to have the packs, but it's nice to have some clothing products, some wool clothing products coming back out again for us. Yeah,
people been waiting on it. And then the comments we got when people could actually, where we could see people's reaction. We got a lot of good comments on the jackets when they come out. But the people at the show, when they feel them and they see the quality in them, they really like them. And
I'm sure everybody was apprehensive with us getting new stitchers and everything. So
yeah, but it's good. So, anyways, come on down the Augusta show, and we'll be doing all kinds of stuff there again, seminars and whatever.
You can try the clothes on, see what you like.
Try them on. So, don't let me forget, Stephen, because you know me. It's in one ear, out the other. Rattles around my brain, and it's gone. I got to tell you a funny story about someone listening to the podcast last night.
All right.
But you can tell us a deer hunting story first.
Oh, I got all kinds of deer hunting stories, honestly, this year. Just don't have a deer to show for them. But I had a good guiding season because I guided it up here with you. But I think I talked about that certainly since. Definitely talked about all that. Especially the third week. I had a real good third week.
You did 3 weeks, and then so you hunted Thanksgiving week and muzzleloader week on your own.
Thanksgiving week I didn't hunt too much, actually. My hunting to-do list is pretty long. By the time bear season's over and moose season's over and deer season's over, I have quite a lot to do at home. So I actually didn't hunt too much Thanksgiving week. I hunted the last 3 days. We had pretty decent snow, too. It was crunchy snow, wasn't it? Trying to remember.
We didn't have up here. It was powder right through all the rifle. It was nice snow. And then we got that warm up. It warmed up Monday of muzzleloader. And then it warmed got right up to 40 or something.
The beginning of the week.
And it melted down and we got a crust for the rest of the week.
Yep, because the last Saturday I caught up to a big buck with my rifle. I caught up to a nice buck that I actually tracked him 3 different days. Before because I could never find his track until the afternoon, honestly. I just couldn't figure out where he was coming from. And he would come in from different sides. He'd always pass through the same area over where I was hunting down below. And I have a camera down there, but I don't have pictures of him. I got pictures of a big 10-pointer and a nice 9-pointer down there, but neither of them are as big a body as this deer. But he'd always come to the edge of a pond, and he'd circle back around that pond, but I could never figure out what time of the day he was getting there. But
you're never going to figure that out.
No, I know.
Schedule.
Oh, I know it. But I could find his track I think I went in there probably 5 or 6 times, and I found his track 3 different times, and twice it was early enough in the day I took it. And the last Saturday, I was able to catch up to him. He ended up down on the stream, actually. Not the one that Rick shot his deer above, but the one right beside it. Joe knows where I hunt down there. And
how come I don't know?
Oh, you're more than welcome to know. I ended up tracking him right to the edge of that stream, and it was only like 3 or 4 miles, but he was going right up, and it's like bluffs up above the stream, and it's all waterfalls. The stream is rushing, and I was feeling pretty positive then because I'd been tracking him long enough, and he started eating. I was like, this deer's going to bed, and it's too loud beside that. I mean, it was loud beside that stream. I was like, I don't think he's going to hear me coming. But I was right. It was kind of a cool place to hunt, but it was like nowhere you'd see a deer go, I mean, the deer will go wherever they want, but he was going up on the sides of these bluffs up above the stream, and he was feeding on that old man's beard because it was all low enough there beside that stream. It didn't even have to be knocked down. He could just browse it just like he was browsing along. But he did. He went up and he kind of J-hooked up and he sat up on a bluff up above me, and he must not have been asleep, or had his head down. He must have been watching. He wasn't just listening. And he made me, but it wasn't good enough because I just kind of popped out of them shrubs, and I heard him blow once and took off. So I blew back at him as hard as I could and grunted. And I circled back here and I got up on the bluff, and you can see, because I had one of those Tacticams on my barrel, and I'd already had it on because I knew I was right on top of him. I knew I was going to get some footage of him. And even in the Tacticam, you can see it's just like a glimpse of him. And I chased him with 3 and killed some trees and didn't get any lead into him. But that was a nice buck. That was a big body deer. He had a nice rack, but it wasn't, anything crazy, but it was a big buck. Big enough, I could tell it was the same buck, 3 different days I tracked him.
Hey, Hal here. Just wanted to tell you we're excited about our partnership with Minus 33. Minus 33 specializes in merino wool base layers for outdoor enthusiasts, from tops and bottoms to hats, socks, gloves, and our gear is going to keep you warm and comfortable no matter what adventure you're on, especially those big woods ones. We're a 5th-generation family, owned and operated, a New Hampshire woolen textile manufacturer. They have over 106 years of woolen expertise, and they started manufacturing woolen socks, the Mountain Heritage ones, in New Hampshire in 2018, with the idea that a quality product, affordable pricing, and can be worn and loved from season to season, no matter what your experience level or skill is, so no one should feel uncomfortable or ill-prepared in the outdoor community. Having a reliable gear is one of the first steps towards a lifetime of passion or whatever activity it is. And my caveat to that is you got to wear your woolies. Cotton is death. Hey, Hal here, and I want to tell you about Spearfish Forest Products. They're still hiring for skilled labor. They filled some of the other positions, but they're particularly looking for millwrights, electricians, and saw filers. And the locations for these would be Spearfish Forest Products in Spearfish, South Dakota, and Montrose Forest Products in Montrose, Colorado, a division of Neiman Enterprises. Same benefits. They got access to public land available for all outdoor activities. They're doing sign-on bonuses. There's free health care for employees and families, 401k with a company match, and also relocation assistance. So anybody interested in moving and you have any of those skills, you can contact John Fennelson at 307-760-7907 or email hr@Neiman, NEIMAN.com. And their website is NeimanEnterprises.com. Hope you get a position and enjoy it out west.
As you all know, Big Woods Bucks is devoted to promoting the best equipment for tracking and still hunting the big woods. Part of that equation for success is the sights that sit on your hunting rifle. We've chosen Skinner Sights as the company to produce our custom-built BWB Tracker Series peep sight. It's constructed of solid steel, has our custom ghost ring, and was co-developed by some of the best trackers in the world. To get yours, go to bigwoodsbucks.com and click on the optics tab.
But that was the last day of rifle season, so he's going to be there. But I found one of his signposts. I'm excited. I'll put a camera out on that signpost and get pictures of him next year. So I'm pretty excited about that. I should show you where that signpost is, because that's not too far from where you hunt. I filmed a couple small bucks down in the Tamaracks. I filmed 2 small bucks down in there, like 2.5, 3.5-year-old deer. Down where I bumped into where I told you I walked into some deer, and Joe's like, some tamaracks. He's like, is this where you're hunting? And I was like, yeah. And there was a bunch of deer in there, but nothing crazy for big deer that I could find.
A few years back, that was a hot spot. I mean, they were really in there, but they're not.
So
they don't seem to be in there.
One
as
of them
heavy.
plantations.
Yeah.
And right between the plantations, there's just a real good mix of woods in there. And I mean, I'm not even really hunting in the tamaracks. The deer go through there, but that's where it's the plantations. It's around the plantations, so it's an easy way to locate it. But
yeah, I think that's going to change a lot here. Pretty quick. They got it marked off to cut it.
Oh yeah.
They did the same thing up above town. It was a big tamarack plantation. They planted, must have been, 30 years ago. I figured, and it was getting, some of them were getting pretty big. They were 10 inches or something like that, maybe 12, some of them. They went in and flattened the whole thing.
Yeah.
Clear cut the whole bunch of
Hopefully,
it right
when
off.
they clear cut this, though, when they clear cut down on the road, they planted those planted pine too. And but that big buck I picked up, he would go through those planted pines too, and they seem to feed in there all right. That doesn't look like anywhere you'd shoot a deer, but he was actually feeding in those pretty well in the raspberry leaves. And somebody else shot a deer in there because there's spots where it comes up close enough to the road. Somebody's got better luck than me. They were driving by. You could see, they shot him from the road. They were driving by, and there was a nice buck, and it was a nice buck. He's probably around 200, and somebody flattened a buck from the road, driving by, looked up to them planted pines, and spotted him and shot him from the road.
A lot of road hunting going on in that. Loop
that loop.
Yeah, a lot of guys ride that.
Yeah.
You know what's funny about them planted? It's red pines they plant.
Yep.
There's something in there in the ground that they eat. I don't know what it is because I never thought there was anything in there to eat.
A lot of winter fern comes up in that stuff too, I've noticed.
Some what?
A lot of that winter fern comes up in that stuff too.
Yeah, if you get enough sunlight, but there's places in there that it looks sterile to me. I guess it depends on how big the planted ones are, but
Well, it's sterile because it's just needles.
It's needles, right?
It's just.
But I found a place this year where there was a bunch of does living in there and feeding. They were digging in them needles, and there's something in the ground they were getting. I don't know. It could be mushrooms or something down in there, but they were definitely pouring them needles out and eating. They was pouring through the snow and getting stuff. I never thought there was anything to eat in there.
Yeah,
there must have been a market or something for it a couple years back, but they wiped out every red pine plantation there was around here that was even close to mature.
I think it's for that pressure-treated stuff,
Oh, yeah.
They get up to the size where they can make a 4x4 or 6x6, and they knock them down.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then some of the places, they clear-cut them, but other places, they thinned them. And I think they make good, that's what they make telephone poles out of, too, them red pines. So if they grow tall and straight, they go through them, and it'll be, when they get whatever they need, 15-inch diameter, what do they use for a telephone pole?
They always need them.
Yeah, they'll probably leave the ones they thinned out for that, maybe another 20 years, and there'll be telephone poles. I don't know.
Not many trucks going down the road with 15-inch wood on it these days.
No. The mill in town, the biggest tree they can cut now is 14 inches.
Yeah.
If they got a tree over 14, they got to send it to one of the other mills.
Really?
Yeah, it's all
pallet wood.
They look like matchsticks going into the mill there now. It's all that. They do it with a processor, where it just cuts them to 8 foot, and they're going to get 1 or 2 2x4s out of each piece,
Crazy.
Yeah. All right. Continue your story.
No, that's all right. Yeah, so I had a good year. I had a really good rifle season for only hunting that 1 week. I got a shot off a nice buck. A lot of deer this year. A lot of 2.5 and 3.5-year-old deer in the woods this year. Filmed a few small bucks. That was the only real big buck I saw besides when I was guiding. That was really the only real big buck I put eyes on that I could get a shot at. Then muzzleloader, that's where because I didn't hunt at all muzzleloader until the last 2 days because I drove all the way north because we ran out of that snow. Yep. So I drove quite a ways north up to where I moose hunt to go in there and check cameras, and that's something I never had a problem with before. This was the first year it happened, and it happened a lot was people tampering with my cameras this year. I had moose cameras especially. I had 3 cards stolen out of cameras this year.
How the heck do they find them, though? I mean, are they pretty handy?
Well, I think the deer one, because that's what I was going up. I had a signpost, a beautiful signpost up there. It's the first year I've tracked a buck by it twice. It's the first year I put a camera out on it. And I got pictures of some nice moose in there, but I had a bear that actually come in and moved it on me. So I never got pictures of the buck early season. Well, I went back, and somebody had tracked a buck past that camera and had deleted all the pictures off my camera again.
You gotta be kidding.
So it's just, I can't even imagine spotting something in the woods and wanting to go tamper with it. Say nothing about deleting it, but whatever. So I think, I'm trying to remember, I think I even left that. I think that camera's still in the woods. I think I just put another card in it, and it was because I want to see what the picture, I'll be back next spring, so I ended up cutting a track. I didn't get up there. I drove up Friday. So it was, by the time I checked my camera, and I never really cut a nice track that was fresh. I had Friday night, I cut cut a track from the night before, but it was a big one. And I only had like a couple hours left to hunt, but I was like, well, I'll just see where he's going at least, and maybe if he's going in a good area, if he crosses the brook right and heads up towards the other side, I'll go up and try to pick up his track. It was a nice buck track. I was like, I'll try to go pick up his track tomorrow morning. I was like, I can even drive around. I got nothing better to do. I'll drive around tonight, and I'll see if I can find it on the road on the upper side. And I just started onto his track, and he crossed that road and went right down, went right across the brook, and went right to feeding, and then he bedded, and he got up, and he would take 3 craps. He'd go a couple 100 yards. He would feed. He would bed.
Oh, yeah.
He would crap 3 times. He did that 4 times, and on the 4th time, it was like 20 degrees. It was cold. I nudged that pilot, and it was squishy still, like steaming. And I was like, he's got to be right here, but it was crunchy because everything had melted off, and then it got cold and froze up. It was wicked crunchy. But I knew I could go slow, even being only a couple hours to hunt. I knew I was catching right up to him. So I was just going slow and walking in his tracks, and I was grunting. I'd grunt a little bit on my grunt tube and just trying to just fool him enough to get close enough to get a shot.
You got to sound like a deer when it's like that.
And I was going around. I was coming up just about up to the edge of the brook, and I was like, man, I wonder if he crossed the brook again, because he was right up against the brook. And he had crunch off to my right. And I was like, oh, I got close enough. I heard him. He's right. I was like, tell he's right on top of me. So I kind of wait, and I grunt. And I could tell he's coming towards me, moving from my right to my left. And I look down through the woods, and he's coming kind of parallel to me. And he's coming up, and he comes right across in front of me. Nice, big, beautiful 8 white tine, real white tine. I mean, just white as snow. Must have never touched a softwood in his life with them tines.
Rubbing maples, probably.
Yeah.
Maples and popples, it keeps their horns
He whacked
white.
A couple maple whips, nothing major.
Right.
He didn't, they weren't rubs. They were like, raking, like he would wrap them right up into twine.
Yeah.
And he's coming up, and I actually had a pretty decent shot. This is muzzleloader season now. I had a pretty decent shot at him once. I'm holding right on him. But he's coming right towards me, and he's kind of going towards, and he's just coming into better woods, and he's kind of heading up towards an opening. And I can tell he's pretty interested in what I am, and he's coming looking for me. And he stops like right at the edge of that clear cut. It's like, because they can only cut so close to the brook, it's pretty much right up against, as close as they can cut to that brook. And right at the edge of that, there was them red maple whips coming up. And I can see him. I mean, it's just like, I can see him clear as day. And there's just a little bit of a breeze, not bad, but enough. I'm like, if he stands there long and he's looking for me, he stands there long enough, he's going to win me. And I'm like, if he turns and goes straight away from me, I ain't going to get much of a shot right now. And he's just kind of looking around, and I should have shot him in the neck, honestly, but I can see the deer, and I can see his body, and I can see his shoulder. It's just, there's some whips, but it ain't nothing that would deter me. And I pull right down on that shoulder, and I fire, and he's about 70 yards away. He jumps out in that clear cut, and he bounds 3 times kind of towards me, and he stops, and he's just looking around in the opening. So now I'm like on my knees trying to reload my muzzleloader, but you can't, he's too close. I couldn't be quiet enough to keep him from spotting me, and he ambers off, and by now I only got 45 minutes, half hour of light left, and I walked up, and I couldn't even find but I know I whacked him because I was trying to find his track before it got dark and make sure I could pick him up the next morning. I never even saw the maple whips I whacked, but I could tell, I didn't hit him, didn't touch him. But I pulled back around the next morning. Anybody knows where my campsite is going to know where I'm hunting now, because it's right where my moose campsite is where I parked my truck. He jumped right across and come right up right behind my campsite from all moose season. I parked my truck there, and I went down. I picked him back up the next morning, and he went about 4 miles of just he didn't even really run. After he jumped right across the brook, and then he went right back to walking, never even really bothered him any. But he walked about 4 miles back into where I shot or where I guided a moose on that fall, and he got into some spruce that was down with old man's beard all over it, and he went right back to feeding and bedding and crapping, and I caught right back up to him again. But it was warm that day, but the snow was still crunchy. It had like that compression crunch, and I spotted him the second time I caught up to him. I spotted him, but it was never enough to. By then the game was up. He knew I wasn't going to let him get close enough for another shot. So that deer haunted me for a bit, and then of course that was the last week up north, and there really wasn't great hunting down here. So
right,
went out like one
how
more
far
day.
away was that buck?
About 70 yards.
Yeah,
I mean, I should have shot him in the neck. Honestly, I should have shot him in the neck, but I mean, I had a good shoulder shot. I was like, that's no big deal. I'm just going to punch right through them whips right in that shoulder.
The muzzleloaders don't do that good. Especially, that's a long way to what you see, what you think there's a couple of whips, but at that range, there's a lot more than you really.
Yep.
if it's 30 yards from you, it's different. But
Yep.
70 yards is a poke
Yep.
to shoot through any kind of whips at all.
Yeah.
Because
He
I
was a
know
nice
even
buck.
with a rifle before, I've hit a whip that the deer is perfectly in the open as far as I can see, and you shoot and never cut a hair.
Yep.
You hit
Yep.
some kind of a whip, and if the whips are like right against them, it's not as bad as if you hit a whip
Right.
halfway
Halfway
there. If you
there,
hit
right.
one halfway there, it ain't gonna get
make
there.
it.
No,
Yeah.
no. But painful lessons, ain't they?
Oh, it happens. It just
Yep.
that was about as it was a good hunt. I mean, put the moves right on him. It was just punted that shot into the stands. Yeah,
Yeah.
that one will haunt me for a bit.
Yeah.
Got a lot of those.
Those are the best ones to learn from. The ones when you don't get the buck, it's the ones you learn the most from.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's what's the fun part about it, It's just, yeah. And
Yeah.
especially the biggest part of it, a lot of people don't realize is that you outsmarted him anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I out-hunted him. And that's what
Right.
really stinks about it is
Right.
I'm like, I beat the buck. I
You-
beat him good, and I
you-
beat him
You
good.
beat him, and
then,
that's it.
And then
It's
put
like
it in
that
the
one I was
stands.
telling, the one that I slipped on there during rifle season, that first day of the snow. I mean, I beat him, but it didn't pay off. You know what I mean? It just one of them freak things. I was swinging to the right, my feet went out from under me, and they're painful lessons. It always seems to be on the biggest ones. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? If
Yeah.
it's one that you were going to let go or something,
Yeah.
you don't learn as
Right.
much. But boy, when it's them big old bucks,
Yeah.
it's
He was a good one. He was over 200. He wasn't as big as the one I shot at during rifle season is a big buck.
Yeah.
Like I said, I can distinguish his tracks pretty well from. There's a
Yeah.
lot of deer down there where I'm hunting. I can distinguish his track pretty well. But it was a good buck, big enough. As soon as I spotted him, even though I could tell it was old, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna hop on this and see where he's going.
yeah, for sure.
But
Yeah, I got this funny story about Brandon Lane. Brandon.
oh yeah, I know
Yep.
Brandon. Oh yeah.
Up he owns Allagash
Yep.
Guide Service there. He's a funny guy, anyways. He calls me up this morning. I don't know, just before. That's why I was running a little bit late this morning. But he called me up and I said, "What are you doing?" He goes, I'm headed to the show in Harrisburg there. And he said, I drove all through the night. He said the only thing that kept me awake was, he said, I started listening to your podcast one after another. He said, kept me awake all night. And he said he must have been, there was a couple of things he brought up, a couple of funny things that was on him. But he said, I'm going along, he said, and he said, it's bad. I started talking to you on the podcast. He said, because you asked a
Asking
question.
questions.
I asked a question to somebody, and there was like a pause. He said, so I started talking and answering the question till he realized. Then somebody else started talking. He goes, "What the heck am I doing talking on the podcast?" I thought that was pretty funny, though. So yeah, it got him through the night because he drove from the Allagash down to Harrisburg. That's a long
That's a haul.
poke.
Yep.
But he was still driving when he called this morning. But so anyways, he's been getting a bunch of coyotes up there too. He said the same thing like we talked about. All the coyotes seem to be pulled in around the deer yards, and the same thing up there. He shot, I think he told me 11 on the river up there.
Oh, you know what? I saw that. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He
He's
shot-
crushing it up there. Yep.
He
Yep.
shot
I saw that on Facebook.
7 in one day.
Yep. Yep.
He said what happened was
I saw him shooting some out on the ice too. I don't know.
yeah,
if-
the river went out when we had that warm spell. And we got that back in January there, early January or whatever. The whole river went out, and then we didn't get any cold weather to freeze it again. And then finally it froze enough where a coyote could get on. But what happened, I guess, was some deer fell through the ice and was froze in.
Yeah.
And the coyotes were out there, but plus it's right in town, so where all the deer are, so the coyotes were like living on the river.
Yeah.
He said they'd be underneath like chunks of ice laying down. He said all of a sudden you'd see one come out of nowhere.
Yep.
And that's how he got them. But then he told me yesterday there was, I don't know how many he's got all together. I think he's in 20-something, but he killed 3 yesterday. Somebody called him up, and there was a dead deer in one of the logging roads out there. And he said he'd just been there the afternoon before.
Yep.
And he got out there. He said it was like a 2-3-year-old buck. He said, and he said it was completely eaten
Clean.
up, and they killed 3 coyotes right there.
Yeah.
It had to have been more
Good.
than 3.
Clean them up that fast.
Well, even to get them, which is it's kind of unusual too, because it's not unusual because coyotes have always run in packs too. But around here, we haven't seen a pack of coyotes since the 90s. It's been when we're running them and finding even the tracks. It's either 1 or 2, and if it's 2, it's like a pair, a mating pair, which is now it's February coming up. Yeah, they're going to be paired up pretty good, so you'll see 2 together. But I guess there's enough up there that they're getting some deer up there.
That's the day I missed another buck. That's a good learning story too. That's more about sights though than actual pulling the trigger. But me and Dad were chasing bucks up in Holub one day, and I was on a buck, and he started running, and I never figured out why he was running until the coyote tracks come on him, and there was 3 coyote tracks, and they run him.
Yeah,
I mean, they run him a couple miles. I kind of stayed on him because I didn't have anywhere better to go, and I was like, well, we'll just see where they're going. And I was like, well, maybe I'll catch these coyotes, maybe I'll catch the buck, if he circles back. Them things ran and ran and ran and ran. I didn't have anywhere better to go because I was already on him for a couple hours. And we ended up coming out that night. Both me and Dad ended up early up there hunting where I said I hadn't been in for like 7 years. We were parked in up on that road. And we came out that night, and we were out early, and the whole road was right pounded to ice. And we were driving down the road, and an 8-pointer come out. I don't think that was like a 2.5-year-old. He wasn't a very big buck. But it was pretty late in the season. I had my rifle, though, but it must have been Thanksgiving week. It must have been the last week. He come up, and he jumped out in the road, and he ate it right there in the road. All 4 feet went right out from underneath him and right onto his back. Well, Dad locked up the brakes in that Dodge, and he about put it into because you go from driving down that glare. Well, he tried to stop, and he about put it in the ditch, and I jumped out. But like I said, we were done hunting for the day, and there was like 5 minutes of shooting light left. So I jumped out, and that was with that 308, that Savage 99, and all I had it was painted white on the tip, the front tip. But I jumped out, and I went around the back of the truck, and the buck kind of ambles up, and he was like 50 yards away, and he's standing broadside out there. And like I said, it wasn't a big buck, but he was a nice little 8-pointer. Standing there broadside at the edge of the road, and I pulled up on him, and I couldn't see my sights. And I was like, are you kidding? I mean, he was like right there, so I pulled down onto the snow so I could see my sights, and I pulled back up onto the deer and fired, and I know I must have shot right over the top of him. I know I had to have shot right over the top of him. And I've hunted with a fiber optic ever since then.
Well, that's why I always painted mine orange, because a white bead doesn't show up very good in the snow.
In the snow, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
bright orange, fluorescent orange fingernail polish, and
put
a little dab on there.
Yep. And then the original brass beads come on them pumps that don't show up as good in the woods because it looks brownish, and goldish. It's like everything else in the woods, But
I don't like it. It's not traditional, but I like that fiber optic sight.
Yeah, I don't mind them. I wouldn't change mine out to have one. I have it on the muzzle loader on my Woodman's Arms. That's what it comes with, and I'm fine with it. Yeah. But you can bust them if it's cold and you tap on
I've
something.
heard that too. Yep, I've heard that too.
I think the way Woodman makes that one on the Woodman Arms, it looks like there's more like metal around it. Mm-hmm. But my first one I had with a fiber optic was at Thompson Omega, and I busted that out twice. Yeah. And I got where I carried it.
Those ones had that was green, wasn't it?
No, I had red.
Red.
I had red, but I was in Kittery Trading Post, and I went in the archery shop and they got me one that would fit.
Yeah.
And I just bought a piece from them, and I carried it in my pack, and all you got to do is you stick it through the hole.
Stick a light at the end of it.
Yeah, you just melt it enough to deform it a little bit so it can't slide in and out.
I should start doing that too.
Yeah, just carry a little spare piece or something.
That 760 I bought works pretty good. I didn't kill a deer with it, but the action on it works good.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a nice gun. You did a bunch of nice work to it.
Yeah, it came out really. It's so real good. It's going to be my carry gun for the next few years. Probably my carry gun for bear too. Honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not worth anything now. Everything on that's been refinished now.
I picked up a nice one, a month and a half ago or so.
I thought you were all done.
Putting one. I'm putting one together for Steve White's son.
Oh yeah.
And I did. I checked an auction that was I think it was the day before yesterday, and it was one that just kind of popped up, and I saw it the morning of the auction, and there was two guns. It was two Remingtons. One was a 7600 with I want to say it was like a Charles Daly scope, and then a 20 gauge shotgun with it, Remington shotgun. And I don't usually go for the multi-gun auctions unless they're all Remington pumps or something really nice. So I just kind of didn't pay attention. Well, I went back yesterday and looked at what it sold for, and it went for $700 for the pair. So, yeah. So they're out there, I know everyone has a hard time. They're out there. You can
never know.
But there's one guy that he follows all those sites too, and I noticed because they only show the first and last letter or number of your screen name anyway, just so you can see if it's the same person, but you don't really know who it is. But there's one guy that pretty much picks up all of them. I mean, he just goes and goes and goes until he has to pay whatever he has to get it.
Does he go by the code name Barney?
No, it's not Barney. But I've been looking like crazy. I'm trying to find. Roger's been trying to get a 243 for his boy, so I've been looking and I'll find them. I mean, they're out there.
They're out there.
But the 243s go for big money. I mean, you can probably find them for less. But I kind of by the time you get if it is an auction site, by the time you get fees and everything, I mean, you're talking $1,000 for a decent 243.
I had one and I sold it because it was one of the newer ones with a synthetic stock.
Yep. Oh, geez, yeah.
And
easy to change that.
Would have made a great kid's gun.
Yeah, and it had a rifle barrel. Would have been a nice one to work on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Start there and work on it. But yeah, I sold it to a guy, good guy. And it was back before the prices were high, anyways.
Yeah.
I think I probably sold it for what it was worth, or what it cost.
Yeah, it's. I see a lot of guys. I mean, who knows what's going to happen if they're ever going to make them again? I tend to think probably not, but they say they're gonna. They tell everyone they're gonna. But
well, it's kind of funny because in the fall, all you heard with people said, "Yeah, I called customer service and they're going to bring back." This was last summer. They were saying, "Yeah, they were going to be out by fall." Well, I knew that had to be wrong because there would be a big advertising marketing splash if they were coming back, and I never seen anything about it.
They won't even fulfill the obligations they have for the guns that are already ordered.
So then all of a sudden this winter, people are saying when they call that they're discontinuing them. That's the latest thing.
Is that right?
They're discontinuing them. So I don't believe any of it anyways because they can't be dumb enough to discontinue something that's the huge market for it.
Right.
I can't believe.
But is it a huge market overall? Really? I mean, it's a Northeast thing.
Well, it actually, the market is bigger than it used to be, right?
It's definitely bigger.
And I remember back when I worked there, the other one was when they had that 750, but it was like 742, same thing, the semi-automatic. And they did discontinue that because they only sold about 7,000 or 8,000 of them a year, and 4,000 of them they were selling in Europe because they all use semi-automatics for hog hunting, wild boar.
Yep.
And so most of the guns, the market over here was hardly anything, and so they discontinued that one. But I told them, I said, they were talking about discontinuing the pump, and I told them that's not a very good idea. I said there'll always be a market for that.
I've got one of those 750s in a carbine synthetic.
Yeah.
I'd like to find some wood for it sometime.
Yeah.
Pretty nice little gun. It's a nice kid's gun, really. It's small. It's a compact gun. It's a nice youth gun.
Yeah. So my last ditch effort with our pumps we still are owed is I've got a contact that knows the owner and trying to get communication there. So that's, I think, the last ditch effort because somebody had told me that, I can't remember who it was, somebody had said that the Ilion plant was locked up now, but then I don't know if it is because they're still making 870s.
Yeah.
So they got to be something going on there. And but evidently they bought a plant in Georgia, so the rating's on the wall for that. It's gonna.
Yep.
They're gonna move there where they can.
A little friendlier state.
Well, that and it's just the alien plant is just so antiquated. They're at a disadvantage. Anybody's at a disadvantage trying to make something there because it's labor intensive the way the building's set up. They got to haul stuff all through the building for the different processes where most of the, you got to remember it's a competition like anything. So they're competing against Savage and Ruger and whatever. They're at a big disadvantage to build a gun. Right. I heard back when I worked there, they said it was 60%. Can you imagine trying to make something you're already starting off at a 60% disadvantage?
Yeah.
So,
you were talking about a lot of those guns being sold in Europe, and it made me think of the straight pull bolts. Why do you think those never got popular here? It seems like you see all those hog videos. Yeah,
they're fast.
I don't know. I really.
They
don't
seem
know.
like they'd be slick to run. I mean, similar to a pump. I mean, probably not quite as fast unless that's what you grew up with. You probably are faster, but
they're not.
It's like your dad running a bolt.
Yeah, Dad runs a bolt. Like
he's left-handed, and he does it kind of.
I do the same thing.
You got to be rugged enough to hold it by the pistol grip because you got a lot of leverage out in front of you.
Right.
But when you do it so quick, you're not even really holding it because that's how I learned. I got. My father's cousin, when I was 16, gave me a 721 Remington, and those had 24-inch barrels, so they were long. And that's how I'm left-handed. So
if you're rugged enough, you're faster because your hand never leaves your trigger.
Yeah, it never did.
Never leaves your trigger.
All I did
because you're just running your bolt with your offhand.
You hold on the pistol grip, and you just slap that back so quick and back that you don't even
imagine with
it.
a straight pull too.
Right,
quick.
Yeah. But
you ever run one of those?
What's that?
A straight pull bolt?
No.
They're fast, but they're kind of awkward if you're not, because the bolt's in kind of a weird spot too. But yeah.
Some of those hog videos are pretty cool. They run when they're when they got hundreds of them running around and they're waiting in the woods and
they want some firepower for them. I think I told the story anyways about the guy. Remember, did I tell you the story about the guys I had coyote hunting and ice fishing that had he had a straight pull.
I'm sure you have at one point, but I'm not recalling it. We've known each other a while.
We were up on, tell it on a podcast. We was up on Holub ice fishing, and two of the guys had been coyote hunting and rabbit hunting with me, and I had a shack up on Holub for coyotes, in a bait, and we were ice fishing, and one of them was going to stay there in the evening and hunt, and I had already told them, I carried their rifles. I had them strap them on with a bungee onto the running board, They were renting snow machines. And I told them from the beginning, you can't have them loaded, on the machine or anything. Well, I guess they didn't take it serious enough. We was up there and we were running around catching some fish, and Glenn Feeney pulls up with another warden there, and we were all standing around a hole. One of the guys was catching a fish there, and they see the guns on the thing. He says to this guy, what the heck was that guy's name? He was funny. I can't think of his name. And Glenn goes, "Can I see your gun?" And so he pulls it out, and he opens it. He had one of them straight pull things. It was a real fancy gun. It was like stainless with gold inlays all over it. It was probably a $10,000 gun, And he opens it a little bit and shuts it back up, and you could see a round in it. I'm like, oh, my God, you got to be kidding me. So the other warden goes, "You want to open that up again?" So he opens it up, and he pulls it out just enough so the shell don't. He didn't want to eject the shell, and he goes, "Take the shell out." And the guy goes, "Oh, no." He said, "It's very safe, very safe." And he's having a little debate, and he said, "Take the shell out." And he's going, No, it's very safe, very safe. I never told this one before.
I don't think I did hear that one before. Yeah,
is it funny? So the other guy, he actually was an executive at Volkswagen. The other guy had a huge construction company. He's from Germany, but he used to do big construction stuff like in Africa and everything else, but real wealthy guys. And he said to the other guy, "Is your gun loaded?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I'm like, oh.
Proud of it.
I said to Glenn, I told him guys not to have loaded guns. I said, I don't know what they do. But So he says, well, can we see your license? They ain't got no licenses on them.
Oh, geez.
They're all, even the other guys that were fishing, all their licenses are back at camp. And I'm like, so Glenn goes, well, what we're going to do here is let's go into shore. We had a fire going, and we was cooking hot dogs or whatever. He says, this is going to be your jail, and you're going to stay here. And he said to me, you take one of the guys back to camp and he can get all the licenses. I said, yep. So I took one of the other guys so they could go in the cabin, and they all told them where their licenses were. We ran all the way back to camp, got their license, come back, and we're driving up, getting closer, and I can see arms going in the air. And I'm getting closer. I'm like, what's going on here? They're all laughing. Everybody's laughing, carrying on and everything like that. And I'm like, what the heck? I pull up there, and they're just rolling around laughing. And so the guy that had the fancy gun there, the construction guy, I don't know why he had it with him, because this was back before there was cell phones where you had all your pictures on your cell phone. He's got a photo album, like a little photo album with photos of African game he's killed, and he's telling them stories about all this stuff. And they must have been funny stories. I didn't get in on nothing, but they're all laughing and carrying on. Well, we got the licenses, and what he said he was going to do was, because he knew they weren't going to come back for a court appearance, right? They were going back to Germany.
Yeah.
He says, well, we can settle this right here if you each pay a fine for, I think it was like $250.
Cash only.
Cash only. Well, to them guys, that was like pulling $1 out of your pocket, right? And they talked about that. That ended up being the highlight of their trip, was that they were out in the middle of nowhere on this lake, frozen lake, but it was jail.
Yeah.
That was they talked about that, and at supper, because Deb was cooking their meals, and they got back that night, and they was telling Deb all about it, and it was just like a great big joke to them guys,
Yeah.
Oh, they were in jail.
That's funny.
Out on the lake. Oh, yeah. Jeez.
Yeah, and it made me think when you're talking about shooting coyotes on bait. My friend Seth Edwards he's down as Hal would call it, Southern Maine.
Southern Maine.
Yeah.
They're running 201 Outfitters down there, and anyone that's interested in hunting coyotes with thermal or anything like that, they've got all the equipment, and they kill a bunch of them. So
yeah, he's good at it.
Yeah.
He does calling too, don't he?
He does. He calls as well. Yep. So if you're interested in something like that, you probably just check him out online on Facebook or something. 201 Outfitters. But
yeah, he was right into it. And he came up last year, and hunted with us one day. I think he wanted to see the hound, how the hound hunt went.
Yep.
He actually shot the first coyote that day. He didn't have a radio or nothing to keep, so I just stayed with him, and the dogs were coming down. I go, just wait right here, and I could see the coyote coming, and it come down, and it didn't cross the trail, kind of paralleled it, and he got it. And I think that's what he wanted to see, was how that went. And
yeah, I think he likes that as much or better than deer hunting.
Yeah, I think he does.
They're doing good at it.
Some people like that predator hunting.
Yeah.
I get a kick out of it. By the time my hunting season's all wrapped up,
yeah,
winter hunting sounds ominous.
I'm too old to have the courage to have hounds now and take care of them year round, but it's quite a sport. I'm telling you, the guys have fun. If you got good dogs and you got a good crew of guys that. The thing about it really is it's really a strategy. You know what I mean? To try to figure out
chess match,
where the coyote's going, and you actually got to know like the habits of them and stuff, and when to be quiet and when to move and when not to move and all of that stuff. Because them things, for one thing, you don't usually know how far ahead of the dog they are.
Right.
And if you run down a trail with a machine, that turns them.
Bears will turn it to smell when you're running bears. If you're not upwind of them, they'll turn. They'll smell you at the road and they'll turn. They won't come.
Yeah.
Social media worries me when it comes to hound hunting, because videos, whether it's cats or coyotes or bears or whatever it is.
Yeah, they don't need to see the videos of all.
It's easy
that.
to paint it a bad light.
No, I think, and I understand why the guys are doing it. I mean, they're out. Anyone that hunts and goes long loves it, but I think, unfortunately, it just gives ammo to, and I think also there's probably a lot of people that don't care one way or the other or don't think about it until they see a video and they're like, they don't understand it.
Right.
So then they form an opinion that's not the opinion you want them to form.
I think you're making the dogs chase animals, stuff like that. People don't understand. A good dog, you can't make it chase an animal. That dog has to want to chase. That dog wants to hunt worse than me and you do. Yeah. That's what them dogs are meant to do.
That's what
people don't understand. That
they live for that. You know,
they love it. You can't make them stop until they are dead beat. You can't make them stop.
Yeah.
They love it.
They want to get out of the kennel in the morning. I go over to Jason's or something there and pull in there first thing in the morning. They must know something's up. So all of a sudden, and if you pull one out of the kennel, the other ones are like, me, take me.
You think they want to go today?
Yeah. Take me, you know.
Some dogs would. Some dogs would. They're crazier than we are.
Yeah. Yep. They live for it.
Yep.
So
if you have to make the dog chase an animal, he ain't going to be a very good hunting dog.
No.
They have to want to do it.
And you know, the funny thing about these hounds is everybody thinks they're like a vicious dog. They're the friendliest dogs. You can bring them. They'll be out chasing coyotes and mixing it up.
They're happy.
Take them in, and they'll sleep on the couch and play with the kids in the afternoon. You know what I mean?
They're happy.
Yeah, they're good dogs. Yeah. So, well, good conversation.
Glad you made it up today, Stephen. It's been hard to get a hold of you to get you up.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. Yeah, I haven't been as interactive. Hopefully, I'll make the spring thaw event.
You're just busy.
I'll be at
stuff
Augusta.
going on.
I should be at Augusta too. So if I don't have drill, I'll be at Augusta. Yep.
Hope your dad gets better.
Yeah. Yep.
That's still the same thing he's had for.
Yeah, I think he caught it at the show. Honestly, Vermont show. I think is what he's saying. When he got back from that, he kind of had a tickle and it's just kind of progressed. But Mum was sick too, and I think he just
remember he had it.
To her.
He had it like a month or so ago when he come up last time. He had that cold. And it was.
They might just be combination stuff now. I don't know. Both of them are down. I went out to put together my booths this week, and they were both. Dad's feeling better, but they're both pretty sore.
Yeah. I think it's that shot he got, his COVID shot, because he
Probably
never got sick before that. No, I'm telling you,
I
I think it's done something to his immune system, because he never used to get sick.
Nope.
He used to brag about it. And all of a sudden
that's what Dad said, because, I mean, he might lose his voice or something like that, but never, like, he said he had, like, 2 or 3 days where he was, like, couldn't sleep because he was hacking, which just made him feel like he actually felt sick. And I was like, I don't sound like Dad. I ain't never seen Dad feeling sick.
Right. I've never seen him sick. Yeah. It's crazy. Oh, I got one more update.
That came out of like a lightning bolt out of thin air.
That's the way.
Did you see that light bulb come on?
Yeah. That's the way my mind works. It's like sparks flying around there, bouncing around in my skull there, and all of a sudden one of them lights up, you know. You don't want to be living in my mind.
Correct.
So, anyways, I'm just going to give a little update on deer season there. So I've got the third week the second and third weeks are booked up. I've got 2 guided hunts available the first week and lodging, and I've got a little bit of lodging left Thanksgiving week, which is kind of ironic because usually Thanksgiving is like the last one, but this year it's the first week, and I think it's because the season's a day earlier and people just think it's no good the first week, but first week was our best week as far as sightings.
Me and Chad saw a ton of deer the first week.
Well, what I think it is, everyone bases next year on the year that just happened.
Right.
And I think a couple of years ago, the first and second week we had snow, and then we didn't have anything for third and fourth.
That's what we were just talking about.
You can never. Oh, okay. Yeah, I missed that.
No. We were talking about just being out. Yeah, we didn't mention on the podcast.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that's what happens. Everyone saw last year, third and fourth week were great, which that's later, so you would think probably that's the case, but it's not always like that.
No,
we might have a better first or second week because if you get the snow, a lot of times the activity's a lot better that early time. So.
I'd rather, if we got snow the first week, it's the best week to hunt. But
the deer way up; they're not roaming as much.
They're easy to catch up to and
not spooky.
But I
crossing roads still.
Out of the last 4 years, we've had tracking snow 3 of the 4 years the first week.
Yep.
And then some of them years we didn't have. A couple of the years we had it the whole season. We had all them snows. But after that, some of them it it would melt off and stuff. But last year was just a fluke. I don't think we'll ever see that again because, I mean, it wasn't only the first. It was the first and the second week we had all that warm weather. And
First and second week.
Never seen it. You probably never will again. It's just a
T-shirt hunting.
Well, it's just the way the weather patterns roll through, and we got some warm air that got kind of stuck here because of the jet stream. And
Because then if you remember the Monday of the third week, that was the week Bill got his nice buck up on the border. That day was cold and windy and snowy.
Right.
Yeah, that day was real bitter.
Just happened to be last fall was the third and fourth weeks were great right straight through, so everybody wants to come those weeks. But
Yeah, as warm as it was, the lake was frozen by the end of November.
Yep.
yeah,
This year, you know.
yeah.
And that takes, obviously continuous for
Cold.
at least a couple weeks to get that.
Yeah. So if anybody's interested, punch me out an email and we'll get you scheduled in. I think it's going to be a good year again because here we are, February already.
I saw
And-
tons of 2.5 and 3.5-year-old
yeah.
buck
It's
tracks.
gonna
Those
be-
are all 3.5 and 4.5-year-olds this year.
And we ain't losing any deer
Nope.
to the winter. And
Nope.
like I said, we get into February, we're going to have these 2 cold nights and days, and then it's supposed to be
20s and 30s, right?
20s up to 30 all the next week and not cold weather again. And then after that week, and we're getting towards the middle of February, and it's unreal for the deer. This is probably, temperature-wise, the mildest winter I've
Yes.
ever seen up here.
Yeah,
By
the
far,
ice
by
the
far.
ice is not good this year. So it's, what is it, the second or third today?
Yeah.
Second. Yep. Second.
So I took the groomer across the lake 2 days ago for the first time this season, and so we check it a lot. We're always monitoring it, and there's a lot of rotten ice.
Yeah.
We just don't see that. A lot of slush because of the way it came, but we just haven't had that real good. Tonight's supposed to be minus 27 or something, so
Yeah, and that'll
that'll make ice. but
That'll be the coldest
Of the
of
year.
the winter.
it should be,
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah,
it
because-
should be because it's usually January is when we get that.
Yeah, I mean you can get below zero like that in February, but the way the patterns are this winter, it doesn't look like it. So probably have bare ground by the beginning of April. I hope not, but
No, I hope not.
I was gonna say I see a
Not good
whole
for-
bunch of snowmobiles going by out
I
of
know, I'm
Joe's
looking
place
out.
right now.
yeah.
Look like they're having a good time. Be
No,
chilly.
there's a good enough base now on the trails.
Oh yeah,
It's
you'll have
gonna
it for a few
stay.
months.
Oh, the trails are phenomenal right now.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
And the way the winter started out, it was a late start.
Yeah,
We didn't get it till the middle of January, but it was like all of a sudden we just were grooming one day and we're like
Those two
the coverage
storms.
because what happens is we didn't get wind with the snow that we got
Right.
and it settled. So we have a lot of trails that are out in the wide open because of the cuts that usually get blown off before they can ever accumulate. And all of those trails have coverage. Like we have no rocks anymore.
Yep.
right.
The only problem we have had, and I think every club has dealt with it, is water across the trails. It's just not freezing up.
Yeah.
And so hopefully tonight, obviously, it should solve all those issues. But that's
Yeah.
the only struggle we've had. But trails are awesome right now. Next week should be a great week for riding.
Oh yeah, yeah. Be comfortable too.
Speaking of riding, Liv ever get back or
I haven't heard from him.
okay?
Yeah.
I'll send him an SOS and see if I
Yeah.
can rouse him.
Badly, we haven't heard from him. So if anybody's seen him, let us know. Huh? We don't know what he's up to.
He's been doing videos. Well, I'd seen he started doing some videos for the Snowmobile Club, so I'll see if there's anything recent. It'll at least be
Yeah.
proof of life.
Maybe he don't want to talk to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, why don't you get on the? What do they got to do? Hit the dinger.
Click
Bell.
and subscribe.
Click and subscribe. Wait a minute. I got it. I've been watching a little YouTube lately. You got to click to subscribe and hit the bell to get your notifications on YouTube, and then check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and all that. Support our sponsors. Got to do that.
Yeah, I think
So it keeps
Brian's
us alive.
Brian's been
Cranking out a lot of
getting
stuff.
a bunch of
lot of stuff. Yeah.
archive stuff plus new stuff from this
Yeah.
year, and
Yeah, he got that box of tapes from when Chris used to follow me around.
Yep.
All them
Yep.
them little tapes there. He's going to get them all redone and see what's on there. I don't even have any idea. What's
There's
on.
still a few videos I know that he's got coming out that I'm really excited to see that I haven't seen. I know at least one of them. I can't even. He's keeping it a secret. One of you and somebody else talking.
Oh,
So
could
he's
be.
excited about that one. I'm excited to see that one. Dad's is still in there somewhere from you and Dad's Alaska hunt. Still in there somewhere.
Yeah, he's going to be getting that one out, I think, sometime soon.
Yeah,
He's working on
there's
that.
a lot of good stuff.
Well, the
We
other
did
one
the-
he's supposed to
we
put
had
out.
a good deer hunting year too. So I mean, there's a lot of footage coming out from this year. Big Woods did really well in the woods this year.
Yeah.
We ever figure out how many bucks we got this year? Out of
Been better if everybody'd filmed.
oh yeah,
Eye roll.
Yeah.
We're working on it.
Well, the other thing he's been waiting on is and I guess a holdup is Chris wants to get a sponsor for it, but is the compass course I did.
yep.
To get that on. I told everybody it should be out before the deer season, and then all of a sudden I realized it ain't out. I'm like, what's going on? Then Chris told me. I'm like, oh, all right.
We should take a tally and see how many bucks we got this year out of the staff.
Yeah.
was
I
a
know what I
lot.
wanted to ask.
It was a lot.
Yeah, is what was the final? I wasn't around for the big buck. Was it Rick that ended up?
Must have been Rex.
Yep. By about 10 points.
Yep.
Rick's ended up scoring 140.
340. Oh, the rack.
The rack was 141 or something like that, I think.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on it, but right around there.
Beautiful rack.
So it was a total score would have been
351.
351 or something like that. And then I think Brian was the next with his was like 340 because his buck was 229
yeah.
in it.
Yeah.
But it
Big
only
body,
scored like 101. It was a 7-point. It was just kind of a basket rack, but it shows you that sometimes
Yep.
you get the weight instead of the rack, you know.
Can we make that the official scoring system? Big Woods Bucks.
The Big Woods scoring system, yeah. So,
Makes it interesting.
yeah, it's fun. It's a fun competition.
A lot of big deer shot this year too. Yep.
You know, there was, but there
A lot of
wasn't
200
as
pounders.
there wasn't as many as usual for the amount of bucks tagged
Yeah.
up here.
Really?
There was 21, I think, over 200, and it was the same in Eustis.
And a lot of them were right on the line.
Right on the line.
Yeah.
A lot was
Yeah.
205 pounders this year. I know.
Yeah, it was. I think the heaviest one was 239, which is low for usually
Yep.
for here.
Yep.
But they had the same kind of deal in Eustis, and I just think there was so many nice bucks that guys were shooting them and not
3.5-year-olds.
caring that much about it. A lot of them 3.5-year-olds are going to be around 200,
Right.
and early they'll
Yep.
be a little over.
Yep.
But
a lot of 3.5.
Ryan Cowper over there, he's got the tagging station now in Stratton over there by Eustis, and their kill was up too over there. They were up 100 over the last year, and that's we were a little over 100.
Oh, wow.
So that was
Yeah.
the same carrying over through there too.
Yeah.
But the same thing he said, I think they had like 20 that were over 200. So that tells me there's going to be a lot more big ones left. You know what I mean? I mean, there is anyways, but there's going to be that many more that get into that age, 3.5, 4.5 when they get over 200. So.
Yeah, I think you're going to see, like I said, a lot of 2.5 and 3.5-year-old bucks in the woods this year. I've seen a lot of them. And they're all 3.5, 4.5, 5.5-year-olds next year.
Yeah, I walked by lots of tracks in the woods. I'm like, boy, that's a pretty nice buck, but I kept going.
The problem was the 3.5-year-olds, like especially down here, just down below the lodge, was you'd get on one and you'd get into some others that were the same size. There's so many 3.5-year-olds about the same size working the same areas, and you couldn't keep the stinking things distinguished from each other half the time.
Yeah, that's a bad problem, huh?
Yeah.
Do you still have mine that you scored?
I took them all to the dump.
Well, that's why I was asking if you still had it or not, if you took them to the dump.
Yeah, Brian's coming up tomorrow and pick them up. He's getting ready to mount them.
Yeah.
So, okay then. Once again, we're trying to sign off here before we bore everybody to death. But I'm looking forward to this fall. Be here before we know it. So till next time, good luck on the trail.
Hi everyone, team member Mark Sheeran here. I've been helping people solve their addictions for the last 34 years. In 2017, we published the revolutionary non-12-step book, The Freedom Model for Addictions. If you'd like a free paperback copy sent directly to you, go to freebook.freedommodel.org. That's freebook.freedommodel.org. All right, take care.
Hey guys, Joe here. Wanted to take a few minutes to talk about Lake Parlin Lodge. We're a 4-season lodge located just south of Jackman. got cabins, lodge rooms, mini lodge. We're a big snowmobile destination in the winter, full restaurant, bar, all the amenities that you need for your trip. Open obviously through the summer, right on the lake. Kayaks, canoes, all included with the cabin. We also do a lot of weddings, so if you're looking for a destination wedding, we can do a wedding up to 200 people. And, of course, we've got our hunting season, moose season, deer season. So check us out. We're at lakeparlandlodge.com.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Till next time, good luck on the trail.